Triangle Chemical Company was founded in 1947 in Macon, Georgia. Triangle got its name from the three original owners, one of which was Julian Reed Maddox, Richard Maddox's father. Triangle started as a laboratory to invent additives for oil products in the early 50s. Triangle switched to an ag distributorship because of its blending plants, and at the time the biggest product was toxaphene in Georgia for cotton sprays. Dust mills took the company through the 60s and the early 70s. Meanwhile, 400 miles away in North Carolina, Cardinal Chemicals was founded in 1974. Originally a separate company, Dick Maddox moved to North Carolina in the 80s and was integral to the company's growth. Cardinal found its initial success through tobacco crops and grew exponentially into the 2000s. Under the leadership of Gene and Dick Maddox, in 2015, Triangle and Cardinal merged into one company. 1983 saw the formation of Tenco's, founded by then owners Wycliffe Griffin and Richard Maddox. Tenco's is now the largest distribution entity for crop protection products in the United States. Over the last 75 years, Triangle's mission has remained the same: to consistently provide dedicated service and industry-leading products to help our growers succeed. While our history is rich, our thoughts are always focused on the future. The relationships we have built with our growers, employees, and vendors remain the focal point of our story.
"2022 is a big milestone for Triangle. My grandfather and two other gentlemen started Triangle in 1947. That makes this our 75th year.
Well, when you talk about Triangle, the one word that comes to my mind about Triangle is family, okay? We're family owned, we're family run. Everybody that are employees of the company are treated like family. We treat our customers like they are family. So family is the one thing that's really important to us. And I think our relationships are similar to that. So we're very personable, we're very intimate with the people we work with, and we're very emotionally tied to this business and these people. So that's a part of our culture that I hope will never change. We're growing like wildfire.
Two principles that I've always believed in, and I've tried to encourage all our management to believe in, is communication and teamwork. And that's two things that a family type atmosphere can do that big corporations cannot do.
The people at Triangle are truly like a family, and that has been just amazing. Even with the transition to new employees, after being here for 15 years, you can kind of tell pretty quick when someone is gonna fit in the family molds.
The value and the focus that they put on faith, family, and farming. It just fit, what core values ought to be at work each and every day. And their desire to create a workplace that exemplifies those core values is what drew me to be at Triangle today.
I think a lot of companies preach it, very few actually live it, which is the unquestionable family nature of this business. And I personally have had some challenges that have occurred with a child of mine, and the overwhelming amount of support that comes. We've had members of my team that have had challenges with whatever it may have been. We consistently get updated on other employees outside of our own divisions, and I think we all make a concerted effort to just do our best to reach out to make sure that no one ever feels within this organization like they're off the Triangle Island. We're all in this together. We're all a big family, and we try to treat each other that way.
I always say that working at Triangle, I never looked at it as work. It's always fun. Us getting together, groups and so forth, and the salesmen and the families. And
we are a very tight group. We get together 3 or 4 times a year as a full group, but oftentimes throughout weeks and months, we're always together in small groups doing different things, from quail hunting to fishing.
People want to work for a family business. There's a desire to work for a company that can be considered a big corporate company, but yet still have the family feel. It's like Gene says, we're a big family, or we're a family business, but we're getting to be a real big family.
With all this, communication's key. Communication, all of it. That's the reason why we have trips, why we have get-togethers with everybody, to get everybody together. We work as a team, where other companies, they work as individuals, and they end up competing with each other. We don't do that.
We work as one big team.
My father, Wycliffe, and Gene and Dick's father, Mr. Richard, really created a culture here that's a family, and good people attract good people. And as Triangle has moved into different areas, we've just been blessed and privileged to be able to bring on sales reps and support staff that are Triangle people, and they're just kind of cut from the same cloth. And it's just a real family atmosphere that those two men fostered many years ago that's carried over. And Tom Thompson also had a lot to do with that culture. And as companies get larger and larger, it's not always easy to keep a certain culture, but everybody here has done a terrific job of that. And I think that has a lot to do with our growth. People want to work for Triangle.
My grandfather, who was involved in the business since its founding, although my great-grandfather is credited with actually founding the business in 1947. He and I had a unique opportunity to get to know each other. He just loved his family and he loved his company. But we had very few conversations around the business and the technicalities and what was going on. In his later years, I spent many, many days and hours with him. And he just wanted to be sure we were all committed as a family.
He was the most wonderful man I ever knew. I miss him so much.
I think when he got older, he cared deeply about this business, but he wanted to be sure that our family was close and tight, and all was clicking there, because I think he knew that would carry over into our work days and our efforts to lead this business.
It ended up for a long period of time, my father and Wycliffe Griffin managing Triangle, and they were very opposite. Dad was conservative, Wycliffe was a consummate salesman. He could sell anybody anything, and that was a very good blend, and they did a great job. And I think they were very responsible for the Triangle doing well through that generation. And then Gene and I come along later, and I think that Gene's very responsible. He was the Wycliffe Griffin of our generation, and he's very responsible for this company growing like it did. And I like to think I helped him a little bit, or at least gave him some advice. And then, of course, now we're where we are with another generation coming in behind us. Is quite I'm quite proud of it.
At the end of the day, to know that you've got family around you, you've got a brother here that you can take some of the hardest things that come up, is a real luxury.
It's, as I said before, working with a family will probably go down as one of the greatest things I've ever had to experience.
Daddy came to work for Triangle in the 60s. Harry Johnson told Daddy that Wycliffe that if he would stay on a couple more years, he would sell his part of the company to him. And so I think it was just a handshake agreement, but a couple years later, he bought Harry Johnson's shares in the business, and that's where he and Mr. Richard became partners. And I don't. So Daddy just had such great respect for Richard Maddox, and they just had a really wonderful relationship. Richard, Tom, and Daddy working together all those years, but Richard Maddox was a real blessing to my father, and it really changed his life professionally of where he was. And I mean, Daddy grew up on like a lot of men of that age and that era in agriculture, they grew up on 40, 50 acre farms, plowing a mule. And that was my father. And until the day he went to college. And then I'm sure the idea of him ever becoming a business owner was probably just, he didn't think it would ever be in the cards. And then this opportunity presented itself with a person that's just such a gentleman in Richard Maddox.
But no, Richard was, if he told you something, I mean, and he never got on to me but one time. And he didn't have to say much. But anyway, Monsanto was in there, and we were arguing about what's called a credit rebuild. And anyway, I said it was one way, and the Monsanto man said, no, it's this. Says, you haven't paid for it yet. And I was insisting we had, because of this inventory deal where we would keep the inventory, but they would credit us and bill us back the next year. So anyway, I kept arguing, and Richard looked up at me and he says, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to tell you one time. I knew what he meant. And so I shut up. But he never claimed to be anything. He didn't want to be in the foresight at all. And of course, he and Gene are completely different on that. If you're gonna have a party, Gene's gonna cook for you. He's gonna do all this. He just, it's just. But he listened to us, and he more or less he let us run it.
So it was on into the maturation of Triangle that Mr. Wycliffe became involved as a stockholder, and their friendship was rock solid. And again, to Reed's point earlier, they complemented each other so well. I never worked a day at Triangle that both of them were employed at Triangle. So, but I always heard the stories and always witnessed their friendship in retirement that they complemented each other so well. I mean, Mr. Wycliffe was the definition of a salesman. He was a big idea guy. He would go hard. He'd go fast, and I think he was balanced by my grandfather's kind of his wisdom and his level-headed approach, and his slow down, let's be sure we're doing this right, and keeping the train on the tracks, I think would be a good term. And Mr. Wycliffe was the face of the business, representing us from a sales standpoint, and that combination is what brought us to the industry we're in today, and I think is what laid the foundation for what has been nice, steady growth and the impact we've been able to have on this region through this business.
Growing up with my granddaddy, I always knew I'd be in business because my granddaddy, he was all business. Let's put it this way, most grandparents or grandfathers will teach their grandkids how to hunt, fish, stuff like that. When we were having conversations about buying this, buying that, he's talking about how you can write it off on your taxes, doing stuff like this. If I ever wanted to do something or buy something or anything like that, I'd basically have to talk him into it, have to sell it to him. It's kind of like he always wanted me to be in sales. But I don't know if you've ever seen a boll weevil catcher, but he used to love going to sales meetings, go to farmers, and this is how he would get in with somebody, is take something like this and go start talking to them. But this is probably one of his favorite antiques.
Now, my mentors would be, my brother was one. Wycliffe was the one I could always lean on because, he's been gone quite a few years. Tom Thompson, retired vice president, was wonderful. He taught me a lot of things. Tom taught me to look at, when somebody says something to you and you 100% disagree with them, don't just start disagreeing with them. Try to put yourself in their shoes and try to figure out why they think like that. And sometimes I do speak before I think a little bit, but he's taught me to look at the other side of something before I try to form an opinion.
There's just been hundreds and hundreds of people that have come to make Triangle what it is today. And then how do you make sure you're not the ones that screw it up? Working in a family business, I'm lucky that motivation of not disappointing the ones that have come before us is my other big motivator.
I'm Aaron Belcher. My office is located in the Triangle location, Statesboro, Georgia. I started with Triangle in 1973, been here 49 years. When I came to Triangle 73, we had one location in Macon, Georgia that served Georgia, basically Georgia and Alabama. At that time, we had probably 6 satellite locations. We had 3 in Alabama, the southern part, Dothan, Selma, Decatur, Alabama. They had a few in Georgia, but we only have one Triangle-owned location. Probably 10 to 12 salesmen at that time. Probably total employees was probably 25. You go forward to 22, we've got 29 Triangle locations serving the whole southeast U.S., 17 satellite locations, 72 plus or minus salesmen and saleswomen. We have 2 saleswomen in North Carolina that are doing great jobs for us, and probably 230 employees total.
Well, my name is Spencer Black. I've been with the company now for 26 years, or a little more than that actually. I joined the company when I was 25. I'm here in Macon, Georgia, and my first 8 years in the company, I worked mainly sales functions. After that, the last 18 plus years, I've been here in the Macon office, doing a little bit of everything. Right now, they call me Director of Sales. The very first meeting I ever went to with Triangle, I was salesman number 7 at the meeting we had at the old original Triangle laboratory, and that was a fun time back then.
My name's Henry Puckett. I worked in the Macon office of Triangle for a little over 21 years. I started in December of 2000 and retired April 30th of 2022. When I started, really chemicals were all that we sold. I think the very first sales meeting I ever went to, we started discussing possibly getting into the seed market because Cardinal, under Dick Maddox's leadership, had a lot of success in seed. And now, if you look at our product mix between fertilizer, seed, and chemicals, they're become a very big part of what we're doing.
Mike Greer, work here in Macon, Georgia. I've been here 19 years, coming up on 20, and I am head of purchasing and programs here for Triangle. I guess the fall of 2002, I worked in the textile industry, but my wife, her father was a farmer, and he knew a man by the name of Tom Thompson who worked for a company called Triangle I'd never heard of. And any rate, Tom knew my circumstances and knew that I was looking for a job, and had an interview, and January 2003 started working for Triangle.
Gene Maddox, president of Triangle Chemical Company. I began my career with Triangle in the early 70s, driving a truck, delivering to farmers. And when I was in college, when I was 18 years, until I was 22, and went off to college and graduated in 77, and came back and graduated in June and came to work for Triangle in July. Yeah, Dad, like I said, he was a great leader. He was respected. He never said a whole lot, but when he did, people listened. You know, I don't know what that commercial was, but that was kind of my father. And when he would go to meetings and stuff, of course, Wycliffe and Tom would do all the talking, and he would sit back and listen. Somewhat similar to myself a lot, believe it or not. I think I did get a little of that attribute in me, learn how to listen, which is very important. But Dad would, it's funny, when I remember one of the meetings he went to, I wasn't there, but I came following up with the same people. And they were telling the story, said, well, the dad of this owner of that business asked his 2 sons that were involved in the business we were dealing with and said, who do y'all think runs that company? And the 2 sons said, that Mr. Griffin runs the company. And his dad said, Mr. Maddox runs that company, because he wouldn't say anything. He would sit back and listen. And then when he did speak, like I said, it was something important. But Dad's beliefs and everything, I totally always believed in. You know, he believed in treating people right and knowing that you're not living for the day, you're living long term. Your company needs to live long term, and your reputation and your morals and everything else mean a lot to the company. You know, I've tried to follow that.
Mason Griffin here in Sycamore, Georgia. When I first started working for Triangle, my first job was doing inventory. I was doing inventory, and then it grew into the seed, and then I'm kind of like Tripp. Jim Colson was a salesman in my territory, and I always knew that was going to be my territory. That's kind of what the plan was. Always, Mr. Jim was always supposed to be training me, because Mr. Jim always said that Wycliffe told him that I want you to help train Mason to take over your territory every one day when you retire. Well, Mr. Jim had a heart attack and had to go on disability and retire. It happened in the middle of planting season. I get a phone call to come to Macon the next day. I go up there, they hand me a price book and say, go get his truck and go sell. And so and I didn't know half his customers from here to Brunswick. And that was only one way to learn, and that's just to throw you to the wolves. I learned how to sell and how to, I reckon, not be afraid to talk to anybody from Wycliffe.
I was hired June of '73. The business, the sales year, I was hired as a salesman, but the sales year was basically half over. So they gave me the option of driving a delivery truck out of the Macon location during the summer, and then I would move down to Statesboro that fall and start, calling on prospective customers. And so I drove a truck that summer and got trained, and I was in sales from '73 to 2001 in Southeast Georgia, over in the Carolinas, and then I moved into as Vice President of Credit in 2001 until current.
Anybody we try to bring into this business, the first thing we try to do is make sure they'll fit and understand how we operate and how we treat one another, because we don't want to change that. So all the new hires and people that come into the business, the first thing they have to understand the culture and the kind of people we already are, and we're looking for people that are complementary to that. We definitely don't want to ever bring anybody into the fold that would kind of change that or change the direction. So the fit and the personality type and that kind of spirit and that kind of entrepreneurial kind of excitement, those are the kind of people we're looking for.
You look at other companies that's in this role out here, and they have very few salesmen that's worked for them for more than 10, 15 years max. There's some of the older guys maybe, but here we got guys retiring 40-something years, been in sales with Triangle. When Melvin went to Donaldsonville, they put him in a station wagon. He didn't know anybody, and they sent him down there to go sell something. And I don't even know if he knew what chemicals were.
Melvin was looking for a job, and they came in the office. Wycliffe wasn't there. I interviewed him, and he had no background, but he'd been a good basketball player, I think. But anyway, he's just old Melvin. He likes to play golf, and the biggest customer for the longest time the Triangle ever had was Melvin's customer, a fellow named Joe Hall.
I'm Melvin Fox. I live in Donaldsonville. I moved here in 1976 and been working with Triangle ever since for going on 47 years. In '76, I had a station wagon, and I traveled around calling on people that I'd never seen or heard of. I was the only one down in Southwest Georgia. I had a small corner in a feed store where I would put my chemicals. And if I ever sold any, I had to deliver them myself. If I got a big enough order, they'd ship it out of Macon. I was here by myself for a long time, but we had great leadership out of Macon. So this is something Gene can relate to. Tom Thompson kind of took me under his wing, and he was down here more than most people to help me. In fact, Gene said one time that I was Tom's fair-haired child.
I'm Mark Hawk in Leesburg, Georgia, working for Triangle for the last 19 years, just finishing 19 years. I have really enjoyed seeing the startup of Peg Power and all kind of new products. I feel like I brought in a lot of new ideas and a lot of new things that I wanted to get into, and I've really sort of developed the pecan market back into Triangle, and do several meetings with other locations, talk to a lot of locations about how to sell more pecan products, and I think we've grown that business now and got a lot more opportunities and a lot more guys that feel comfortable going talking to pecan orchards, growers.
My name's Liz Maddox. I am Director of Marketing here at Triangle, and I am based out of the Macon office. I started at Triangle in 2020, right during the COVID year. And I came down from Atlanta because basically Triangle didn't exactly have any marketing. You know, there wasn't really a social media presence. I think Martin Long ran the Facebook for a few years, which was great, very entertaining. But there just wasn't any strategy behind it. So I came in and sort of helped create that presence. And I think so far, you know, we've seen a lot of growth. We've had a lot of success with digital advertising on social media. And then in addition to that, I've also just learned so much about this industry because I've grew up around ag, but I don't have an ag background. So in the past 2 years, I have just learned so much about A, our family's history, and B, just how deep the roots run in this company. It's so rare to see something like this. I'm just excited to be a part of taking this company into the next generation, into the 21st century. And I think the future is bright for all of us, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
I would say the most life-changing thing is just getting a job at Triangle. You know, probably throughout the years, uniquely, I probably had a seat that most people didn't, to see how generous that the owners of Triangle, the Maddox family, and the Griffin family, were to their employees. You know, usually if there were lean years, the owners probably took a little bit more of the brunt of that than the employees did. And in the good years, they were very faithful to share those good years with their employees. So through the 401k plan that they have, all of the benefits they have, it's just been life-changing for me and my family that will affect generations to come in my family, I feel.
When we moved in Florida in 2000, it took about 2 or 3 years to really get the logistics running and to get recognized. But Dad came in there one time, he said, "Son, whatever you do, don't sell tomato growers in Florida." Well, Aaron Belcher must have forgot that, because in 2007, we sold the largest tomato grower on the eastern seaboard. He was probably doing, I don't know, what, $5 to $10 million a year with us. And you know, we did a lot of business with him, but unfortunately we caught the very last few years of his survival or not surviving. And it was the biggest write-off Triangle had ever had that year. So I didn't follow my father's directions, but we survived it. It was a good year. And of course we made a lot of money, and we ended up collecting a lot of it because we did have a little bit of security on some things.
I'm Bo Brooker. I'm Florida Division Manager. I've been with Triangle 6 years. There's quite a bit different about Triangle's Florida division than some of the other divisions within the company. I think there's a lot of diversity across states, but I don't know that you're going to get the higher levels of concentration of that diversity anywhere else except what we're seeing down here. We don't have a large percentage of our business that's coming from just row crops or just from specialty crops. We have a tremendous coming from both vegetables and fruits and permanent crops like trees. And then we still have our share of row crops with peanuts and some of the other crops that are grown in that manner. The Florida division is probably a little unique in regard to the growth or maybe even some contraction that we've had. When I took over, we were really at the very end of the careers of a significant portion of the original group that had come on board. And just in the last couple years, we've seen a substantial amount of natural attrition through retirement from some guys that had started with us when the division was formed. But we have, we've been very strategic about how we replace those people. We've been very cautious about some of the areas that we've expanded into, and I have a lot of high expectations for where we're headed as we move forward, provided we continue to bring in the quality of people that we would expect.
When we move into a new area, we look at the people. People generate a location more so than bricks and mortar. And in most cases, in Mississippi and in North Carolina, when we find the right people, then we build a location around them. Because we still feel people are the only thing we have unique to your competitors. So our culture is totally people-driven, and we try to find the best that we think represent our values.
I'm Kenny Carlton, just turned 70 in March. Been retired now 2 years. This is the very first location that we started. It's in Bolton, Mississippi. Gene and I had a conversation in the beginning that since I was 63, this wasn't like I needed a career. We understood that between 5 and 7 years was probably going to be, if I didn't have this thing up and running in 5 years, he was probably going to have me either sent home or replaced, one of the two. So in March of 2015, I think that was my anniversary. That's when I started. And they got me a pickup truck. And I mean, I'm by myself, okay? But I had from sometime in October of 14 to think about how someone was going to enter the Delta market. Now, I didn't have any of that conversation with Gene whatsoever. He didn't have any ideas. He didn't have any suggestions. He's like, okay, it's yours, and see what you can do with it. And I felt like that if I could identify 5 or 6 key men, you know, that would be the base that would start a business in the Delta. I knew that with the conversation I had with Tripp, the conversation I was having with Gene and Spencer, that they were going to be there to support me with whatever I needed. And that was the only ammunition I had to get someone to go to work for me. And in 5 short years, we put a location in Bolton, Valley Park, Rolling Fork, Yazoo City, and Grenada. Now, each one of those was being manned by a guy that had a good relationship with his customers.
Okay, I'm Paul Holland, sales manager for Triangle, Mississippi, and we're sitting at the Hollandale location in Hollandale, Mississippi. If I could describe the Mid-South team, I would describe them as the definition of perseverance. And in perseverance, I think the definition is getting the job done in the face of difficulty. And even with all the obstacles and roadblocks that were thrown in front of our group, they went out and got the job done and did an excellent job. And I couldn't be more proud of what our sales team has done. More of a life-changing moment was the day I realized that I had made the right decision to come to work for Triangle. A lot of anxiety early on with the move, and since we've been here, it's just gotten better and better. And the day that I realized that it was the right decision, that's just been a memorable and pleasurable moment in my life. And I just thank God that decision was made, and I just thank Him for leading me in this direction, because I'm in a good place.
So we're here today at Jones Island, North Carolina for our annual Triangle sales meeting for the North Carolina crowd. My name is Martin Long, North Carolina Division Manager. North Carolina's grown in many ways. If I had to think of one great way that we've grown, is definitely the word team. Nobody could do it on their own. Growth is great. Your goal is to get bigger. Your goal is to figure out how to have more sales, more business. My goal is to be able to call headquarters and say, we need more trucks, we need more credit, we need all the utilities that make us successful. And one way we've grown is team, without a doubt. And the resources have really helped us, from the Maddox family, just basically saying, hey, here's what we want you to do. Here, you know what to do. It's your job. They turn you loose. They let you do your thing. They don't get in your hair. And when things don't go right, we sit down and talk about it. When things go great, we celebrate.
My name is Dick Maddox. I'm currently the Executive Vice President of Triangle Chemical Companies. I started my full-time career with Cardinal in 1980. In the early 2000s, the 4 owners of Cardinal were getting near retirement age. So we had a meeting in South Carolina that I called the Cardinal Accords. And we all agreed with the other ownership from Georgia when they would retire, and went forward with that plan. So I became president in 2003, and then always close with Triangle. Gene and I talked every day, or 3 or 4 times a week anyway. Any kind of major things going on with either company, each of us knew about it from the other. And as we approached 2015, we both grown to a size that we thought possibly at this point, if we combine the companies, we would reach a bigger level because of our combined sales. And we found out that's actually what happened. I think we got a lot more respect from the basic manufacturers, and it was big news for a while, and it helped us continue to grow.
My name is Terry Callum. I'm the division manager for Triangle's Turf and Ornamental Group. Back in 2011, Cardinal Chemical was a customer of mine. The company that I work for was going through management changes, and I felt like it might be a time to take a look at other opportunities. I knew that Cardinal had a small specialty group, but I felt like there was a lot of potential there to really grow that business in the Carolinas. So I asked Fred Worthington if he could put together a meeting with myself and Dick Maddox. He did. I put together a business plan for Cardinal, and then within a couple of weeks, Fred called me and asked if I was ready to join the team, which I told him I was. But we've gone from a team of 4 people to 18 people. With any successful business, obviously, it's all about the team. It's all about the people that you work with. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to have a wonderful team.
I'm Dan Sexton. I run the Linwood location in Linwood, North Carolina. I've been with Triangle for 19 years. When I started with the company, it was Cardinal, and then we went into Triangle, but I started out as a warehouse manager. That's what I was hired to do. So a lot of times I tell the people that work for me that are in the warehouse and my other salesmen, there's not a part of the job that I have never done. I have worked in the warehouse, I've been a truck driver, I have done it all. And I think a lot of times that's what makes Triangle successful and has made me very successful, is that I know every aspect of the business.
I am Kim Foster, and I'm the seed lead for Triangle Chemical, and I work out of the Wilson, North Carolina location. I've been with Triangle for about 35 years when you combine the years with Cardinal Chemicals. And so I came on board right out of college. I had planned to go into banking, and my dad, who was one of the original owners for Cardinal Chemicals, he explained to me that he needed some help and asked me if I would come on and be his office manager for a short period of time, and then he would let me go on and do what I was going to do. And so I went to work with him thinking it would only be probably for 6 months, and then the next thing you know, I'd been there for years, you know. So it was really different than what I thought it would be, and I fell in love with the ag business.
I started work as a summer laborer with Triangle Chemicals in Macon in 1966 and worked in the plant. In 1974, Cardinal Chemicals started. And I had, in the meantime, gone to college, graduated, was working with a steel business for 7 years. And in Cardinal started, like I said, in 1974, run primarily by the 4 owners that lived in North Carolina. And in 1980, they had grown enough that they had a position that they had a room for me to come and go to work for Cardinal. So I did. I moved to North Carolina, to Kinston, and worked out of the home office.
It has been so rewarding knowing that I was able to work with and learn from my dad. I mean, he is the one who cultivated the ag love that I have, and I'm so thankful for him and for him having faith in me that I could do what I've done.
Don, he gave me the opportunity. Didn't know what I was getting into. Took the job. Wasn't making no money, but it was all right. I had a job and came to work. 20 years ago, Don, he showed me the ropes, and he's a great man. He's truly the reason I'm here. He's truly the reason Cardinal, and well, he's one of the reasons the Cardinal made it as far as it did, and thankfully Triangle was there to take us over, and it's been a great experience.
We give an award here in North Carolina called the Cardinal Award, and I got that award. It was probably, I don't know, the first or second time after they gave the award, and that meant a lot to me. It's this bunch of people I work for. You just won't find them anywhere else. Everybody cares about everybody. And Gene Maddox, Dick Maddox, they'll pick the phone up and call you. And they'll say, Dan, how you doing? How's your family?
Yeah, the only thing I didn't want to do in this is I didn't want to make a formal speech to Triangle because I knew I'd get all upset about it. So, so that was my idea to us to make a movie about Triangle. Not so much as me, but about 75 years at Triangle, which of course 47 of them I was a part of. Where do I leave all you guys? Hey, of course I'm not dying, I hope, and I hope I'll have some happy years left here. I don't think I'll have a hard time occupying myself. I still will check in on Triangle from time to time and make sure that the boys are doing a good job. Mr. Griffin used to tell me that he was going to leave me with a book, and it was going to be called The Do's and Don'ts of Surviving. And he was going to write them all down for me. Well, he passed away before I got the book. So maybe I'll have to work on my do's and don'ts so I can give it to all you guys out there. I think I'm leaving the company in very good hands. I think we have a wonderful management team. I know we have a wonderful sales team and support people everywhere. I am blessed to have been able to spend 47 years totally enjoying what I do. I highly encourage everybody that works for the company, when I hire them, if you get up in the morning and you're not looking forward to the day, please let me know and we'll try to find something else you may enjoy or you may need to think of another career. I want you to enjoy what you're doing. I don't want you to get up and dread it. I'll have to say some of my career, I think I did some things I didn't feel like I was good at and I didn't enjoy as other things that I have done. So, like I say, I'm a truly blessed man. I've done the best job I could leading this company for the last, whatever that is, 25 years. But I think I can leave in peace knowing that it will be in great hands and that y'all will continue the Triangle family's tradition.